that particular story was playing, my panelists here, they were still in the ethics issue. Yeah, this one has been tough.
It's a hot issue.
We are not changing it.
Prof is trying to tell Paul, like, yo, we need, you see, this is what's happened.
No, it starts from the top.
It starts from
when
the
I
top.
become head of state of Kenya, Paul will come to me and I'll solve the issue from the top.
Yes. Because
the Singapore idea is from the top going down. Yeah. You cannot have bottom up in ethics. It must be top down in ethics. There's no other way, because even as a head of a family, you want to be corrupt, then you want kids to be straight, is impossible. It has to from the top. The fish rots from the top. Okay. And that's why I'm seeking leadership in this country. Yeah. So that I can sort it out. Yes. But before you do there, you have to pass through the shadows of darkness, isn't it?
The issue about getting to the top, Prof, is that it involves a lot of compromise most of the time.
No, but before you get there, look at what happened in Zambia. Levy Mwanawasa was proposed to become head of state by President Chiluba. President Chiluba helped him to become president. Then he took him to court. But when Chiluba was helping him, he was under the ground, very polite and humble. Then he called the nation and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, dear to me is President Frederick Chiluba. Dearer is the people of Zambia." And he arrested the man. Magufuli he didn't say what he was going to do. When Magufuli was elected, he woke up and said, "Excuse me, from today, in Kenya, come and pronounce what you want to do to change it. You'll never see that place." I'm telling you for sure. Even for example, in a simple thing about relationship, when you begin a relationship, you have to look like you're compromising so that you get love. Then tell her, "Excuse me, sweetheart, from today, we can't do 1, 2, 3. But before they love you, you cannot start throwing tantrums. So you must be tactical. You must have tactic. Strategy without tactic is the long road to victory.
What was the difference with Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore?
Lee Kuan Yew was the leader of the country. So he dictated. Remember also, Lee Kuan Yew had to do some very unethical things. For example, and this is written in that very book, I've read it, that long book, he says that any media house that ever portrayed him in a bad light, he denied them advertisement for 2 years. That was uncompetitive. That was unethical as well. It's there in the book. I'm sure I read it. Okay. He had to do some very difficult things to do. Okay. Now, Singapore, I like when you are talking about good things, you go to Singapore. You don't talk about Kenya because you believe that in Kenya you cannot have an example, isn't it? It's the same thing politicians, when they're campaigning, they tell us about Singapore, Japan. After they finish, they compare with DRC, Congo, Juba. It's the same thing. Me, I know that I'm putting my eyes on the ball. Yes. By the way, Noah, I have a lot of faith and hope. Kenya will become even better than Singapore. Okay. And that will happen if we form the next leadership in this country. But the current guys, when I was Kibaki's advisor, Raila was a prime minister, isn't it? Kalonzo was a vice president. Martha Karua was a minister. Musalia Mudavadi was a minister. Ruto was a minister. They are the people trying to derail Kibaki from economic recovery of the country. And now they are the one in charge of the country. They cannot do anything. That's why you see corruption in education. You know, when you corrupt education, education is the largest allocation in budget. And this is all about money. Where money was going is all about money. Where you are compromising the future of kids for the sake of money. So I'm trying to tell you, until we have the head of state who call me and say, "Guys, I'm a no-nonsense president. Yeah. Eat your salary, don't do the XYZ, you'll win." But you sitting on the television telling us that we shall be an ethical nation. It has good.
Paul. I mean, now in regards to that, it seems you derive a lot of inspiration from Lee Kuan Yew, and he was a no-nonsense leader. I remember even when pilots had downed their tools. It's a famous speech you can always watch. It was like, "You guys better get back to work." And it was resurfacing, I think, that time also when we were having our issues here with Kalpa. He was a very tough, no-nonsense man. But that element of the aspect of compromise, is there room for no-nonsense, especially if your journey up has involved these compromises to find your way to the top? Can you reach there and say, "Now I'm at the top, now this is what I have decided. I'm a changed man. And I won't do this and that. Because in government, I see a lot of trade-offs. I support you during elections. I fund your campaigns. Next time I hear, my guy has been appointed in this particular position. That's the reality that we live in. How do we change that reality from your perspective?
And I think the perception you have, the only person who can change an organization or a nation is somebody on the top, which is not right. I think you can change the organization where you are. I like a quote I read about a monk. Like, if you want to change the world, the monk was saying, you know what? I want to change the world. Then I discovered the world is too big. Then I went to my continent. The continent was too big. Then I went to my country. My country was still too big. Went to my city. Then they died. They were like, if I knew, I could have begun by changing myself.
Okay.
Then I could have changed my family. My family could have changed my city. My city could have changed so change begins we're able to do. And there's another book I could recommend to Prof, because I know you read a lot. It's a book called The Heart of Leadership by Todd Togwa.
I read it.
It speaks about. Good. That book speaks about that fellow. He was a CEO from a different state. And then what he decided, you know what? He went to a different state and decided, you know what? I won't even tell them that I was a CEO. I'll just be a janitor. And that person transformed those organizations. If every common person watching me today decided, you know what, we want to change this country. We will not bribe, we will not do what is right. We will choose the right leaders.
Okay.
Then there will be no need of those trade-offs, because your value and your convictions and the value bring to the table will be the hugest impact that organization will be able to get under as a country. Look at the Mandela. You know, he suffered in jail for 27 years. If Mandela said, you know what, hey guys, I cannot survive for this, we could not have an icon in Africa to make a transformation that we really need. So in my view, we can begin with where we are. If you're in an organization, you can be a janitor, you don't have to be a CEO. But that janitor can cause a difference in that organization. You know? If you're a news anchor, make sure that you bring the right people on board and transmit the right values on TV. Let the children get to know. And that's the difference going to make.
That's very important.
I hope I've been invited.
By the way, never feel threatened. We are at the heart of freedom of speech and exchange of ideas.
Let me give a practical solution to your question.
Before you give your practical solutions,
I don't want us to look like preachers in this forum, because preaching philosophical things is not pragmatic. Like, for example, I want to challenge Paul, because I see he's not been to the ground. Myself, I vied for MP in Joro constituency in the just concluded election. You won't rise to any leadership position in this country if you're not willing to sacrifice, to compromise something. You won't. And until you are at the top, that is where you can impact a system. But until then, we'll be preaching. You look like preachers, preaching Nelson Mandela and some philosophers. Give us a practical example of a Kenyan leader who was not compromising.
I can give an example. Professor Sambili. Professor Sambili, he was she didn't bribe with a conviction able to do. Professor Sambili,
you can't prove that.
Yes. Just the public design. Understood for his conviction.
Let's talk about practical solution on how to change this. You ask a very important question. That before you get into government, you get support from people who hold you hostage, the so-called cartels, isn't it? I wrote a very nice article on Business Daily this week on Tuesday. And I said the leadership question, maybe you need to read it. Another question is that, is the government we have in Kenya, is there a crisis of government, meaning issues government need to deal with? Debt, unemployment, cost of living, name it, all those issues, corruption and the rest, isn't it? Or a government in crisis. So are we having crisis of government or government in crisis? Government in crisis means that the government itself is dysfunctional, that it cannot address the issues it needs to address. That's the main question, leadership question. And I said, the president said in State House that his ministers are not effective enough, and he's even better than them. That was after 2 months. Again, they had a meeting in South B. Is it South B or South C? They had a retreat where he said, now we have gelled together, we can work, isn't it? What does that mean? The cartel said, excuse my brother, you cannot read for us route acts. You have to play by the book. You understand? Why is it that in this government, Moses Kuria can say whatever he wants, isn't it? And no consequences. Gachagua would say anything he wants, and there's nothing he can do. I remember in Karen, when they're electing Gachagua as the deputy, the running mate for Ruto, many people preferred Kindiki. But Gachagua says, then give me back my money. That was in the Minga, isn't it? And he said he invested more money in it. And therefore, he has held Kenya Kwanza hostage. He can say anything. Like, look at his statements. And he holds hostage because of his money. Now, how do we elect a leader who is not held hostage? That's why I'm telling people that I'm putting up a team of professionals, because CEOs, when I meet them, they tell me, Professor, we can see shit in the balance sheet. So if you look at the political sheet, when you're doing a balance sheet statement, you can see the political sheet in the balance sheet. Because house levy we are discussing here is the balance sheet. It's affecting us. We are losing 189 jobs per day. Why my brother here is preaching utopia, isn't it?
Not
it
utopia.
Is practical.
I'll be the first person to be chosen as a
house
member of
levy
parliament
is unconstitutional.
Yes.
Now they have declared that if you do not remit unconstitutional levy, you'll pay a fine. Are you seeing what I'm trying to say? And my brother here is willing, saying, let us just be ethical. So what I'm trying to say here is, practically, I'm putting up a team of professionals. The solution is this. If the business community will not say, we don't want to involve ourselves in politics, because in America, they donate money to elect the leader they want. So if the business community that are now seeing shit in the balance sheet comes together and help finance a straightforward person, and straightforward people like him, Paul, come to support a candidate like someone straightforward like Fred Ogola and become head of state, we clean the nation. But if for Ramfo, the cartels finance another person to become a president, then the cartel runs the country and the person there is holding by name. So Ruto says he's going to remove the cartels. He only removed the cartels of Uhuru and replaced him with these cartels. And so long as the cartels know how to make someone head of state, and Wakina Paul here do not know how to make someone head of state, because if I tell Paul, give me 20,000 as donation, I'm running for election. No, me, I don't finance politics, isn't it? And yet tomorrow, he's the one crying that
finance
KCC
ethical leaders.
Yes?
Ethical leaders of finance. If you're ethical, you can prove, I'll give you the money.
Okay, yes, I'm here.
So, Prof, you've already fundraising. You've already started fundraising. Very, very critical. But gentlemen. This is beautiful. Imagine my first time doing the morning prime and I'm having discussions about ethics. This is amazing. I like it. Sip something so that we breathe. This one, we even played the story there intentionally on housing. And straight from the house, we opened the door, left the house, and went back to ethics where we were before.
No, but that's what the country needs now.
Exactly.
I agree with Paul. The
Yes.
passion for us to do the right thing is burning in everybody's hearts.
Yes.
There's an article I've written on giving voice to your values, meaning that every Kenyan knows the right thing to do. The only thing they lack is how to do it within their circumstances. When you tell people, don't break the 10 commandments, all Christians know. Tell Muslims, even you know, isn't it? But now, how are you not going to break the 10 commandments, isn't it? That's what you need to do. Your boss might be the most unethical person, isn't it? Now, you are having a boss who is unethical. You are reporting to them. How will you give your voice to your values? Your values, we know them.
Yeah,
and I believe in the same
leading
values
upwards.
you have. Remember, what we don't disagree, Paul, is that the values you hold, I also hold them. He also holds them. Noah holds them. The issue is, within this context, how can the voice or our values be seen? Because that's the most difficult thing. Like, for example, the example I gave there is, if my boss tells me, Fred, I want to go to Kenyatta Hospital, pretend that you're doing research in that department. I want you to know who is the head of procurement there so that we can see whether I can hire them or not. Then I tell my boss, yeah, the thing is that I don't want to pretend. But what do you want? You want information about this guy, isn't it? I don't want to pretend. I just call the guy, we have coffee, isn't it? And I've achieved the same thing, but without following your own unethical approach. That one, I'm giving voice to my value, means that I have a practical solution to solve. Because if my boss tells me to do something, I don't do it, I'll be in trouble.
No.
And I'll still achieve what he wants,
but
not taking the unethical route. So, Paul,
what you would like to differ?
Yeah, I like to differ. Want to be able to see, I've been under bosses who have done maybe sometimes unethical things, and I stood out and said, you know what, this thing will cost our organization, or rather fire me. And let me tell you, even the billionaires, they believe in people who are ethical and honest. They want to keep you. Even a thief who steals money, he wants somebody who is honest to be with them, you know, and that's what we're able to do. So irrespective of what we're able to do, you may disagree with them, tell them, you know what, I don't agree with your opinion, I would rather resign, and many people have been able to do that. And once you do that, they say, you know what, I would rather keep you because you're an asset to the organization, and they don't want to lose money. Because if they put a thief there, they know the money will get run away from, we're able to do. So I think as a nation, irrespective of your boss, I'm a leadership expert. I've been able to do leadership for more than 15 years, actually 18 years. And what I usually tell people, you know what, you can lead your boss. You can be second fiddle and play the biggest role to change an organization. And that's what we're able to look for. So don't say, because the leader is corrupt, I'll also just follow their role. No.
Didn't get my point.
I'm just, hang on a minute. What I'm trying to bring is, you know what, people can see what you embody. Yes. And you can even help your boss to be more ethical and follow those values. Because it's something that can see the benefit of the organization and be able to grow as a nation. If the president is challenged, for this I'm just saying, if the people who are above him or a particular ministry are unethical and they see the consequences of what an unethical behavior can bring to an organization, definitely they will try to invest into that. It's more expensive to be corrupt than not being corrupt.
Okay.
You know, that's what I'll be able to adhere.
Yes. Yeah. So what I've garnered from here, there is two approaches, just like our elections.
Yes.
Paul, you tend to take the idea that individuals are where the change starts, with individuals. So we build from the bottom up. So yours is the better model. Then we have the top-down model. Yeah.
Solomonic.
Solomonic. It's dropping. Where the main guy, you reach there and you impart change because you believe it's more effective to do that. And gentlemen, with those two sides, we can always find ourselves in the middle. All right?
Yes.
And the middle is this issue of housing levy. You know? Yeah, so let me start with Essen. This particular new bill, sort of, it's proposing to give structure to this just recently termed unconstitutional levy. First of all, is this a sign, do you see it as a sign of goodwill from the government? And by the fact that they're doing this and they wouldn't do that before, is it also saying otherwise? How are you interpreting this?
Now, you know, as I said, the president is so passionate on the housing, I mean, the affordable housing projects, which its structure came along with the housing levy. You know, there are many, I mean, good things which comes with it. Talk of the bottom up, which the president was pushing during the campaigns. You know, the housing levy, brings up, you know, the social equity. Yeah, you know, it reduces the socio-economic disparities. The people who earns low in salaries, and the people who has, a huge, a huge figure in the payslip, comes to a certain level, you know, access which the constitutions give us. Recounts in Article 43, the housing, you know, a right to, good housing, you know.
Yes.
You need to live in, a decent housing. And the president is saying let us bring a little, bring that, 2%. Let us, this person A brings and this person B brings, let us join this together. The point is that it will spur the economy. The other point is that it will create employment, as he said, during the site work, a number of youth will get employment. The main point here, which I think the people who differ us with it, is that, it is discriminatory, it is unfair, but the larger picture is that in some, 10 to 15 to 20 years to come, we need to have a proper planning, a proper urban planning system in the housing, which will, particular housing levy tax will sort it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I know from our discussions on ethics, Prof dropped in an example the way he was in court and he saw what was printed, in regards to this housing levy. So we want to take a short break, Prof, so that you guys can relax for a minute, because I know you're gonna come strongly against Asab's point. That's a given, trust you me. So we take a short break. Remember, it's Morning Prime and it's Friday. Be happy. Come on. You make your own happiness. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. We take a short break right here on Morning Prime. We'll return with more. Stay tuned.